Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lindsay Burkhardt, and I work with Prevent Child Abuse North Dakota. I'm here with my colleague Veronica, and we are so excited that you're here today for this virtual presentation. Today, we have a very important topic with Analena and Jill, who work with the BCI. The session today will focus on safeguarding children online and the crucial role that parents play and caregivers play in that. So without taking any more time, I will turn it over to our amazing speakers today, and we can't wait to learn from you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. So what we'll do is we'll just, so you can see our faces before we put up the presentation. My name is Analena Lundy. I am the victim witness specialist for the North Dakota Bureau of Criminal Investigations. I cover Western North Dakota, so everything west of Jamestown. And I'm here with my partner, Jill, and I'll let her introduce herself. Even though we have divisions in the state, we work very closely together with, the state, and we also serve our tribal partners as well. Providing victim services whenever there's a victim identified of a crime, and whenever we have a crime that comes through the North Dakota Bureau of Criminal Investigation, we're an assisting agency, or when we're working with various state's attorneys who need victim support, or as well as other local fire departments, sheriffs and also providers. My background is that I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 20 plus years. I'm not going to let you know my age. I've done everything from burns to trauma, public health, and I'm very blessed to be a part of the North Dakota Bureau of Criminal Investigation as a nurse doing victim services, providing prevention for our state. So I'll let Jill introduce herself. And I'll
sorry to over talk you. My name is Jill Croney. I'm the victim witness specialist for the eastern side of the state. I cover everything east of Jamestown, north and south. And a little bit about my background is before I came over to North Dakota Bureau of Criminal Investigation, I was with parole and probation for 14 years. So I do have a law enforcement corrections background. But I'm happy to be over with Analena over here at North Dakota Bureau of Criminal Investigation. And so hopefully, if you have questions for us, please, feel free to, stop us. Like, we would rather have a really open conversation and open dialogue, because we think that you're going to learn a lot more from the presentation that way. And so feel free to print it in the chat. Maybe raise your hand or have a question. We'll try and keep that monitored. I know Lindsay and Veronica are going to try and help us the best they can, but please participate, and because we feel that that's the best way to learn. So that's all I have.
Awesome. There's a couple people coming in. So I'm multitasking. Nurses can multitask. I'm trying to let people in, and I'll start the PowerPoint. Can just tell me, Jill, you're gonna be my partner. Can you see it?
Yep, I can see it. It's perfect.
All right. Perfect. So Jill and I both want to thank PCAND for allowing us to be a part of the Prevent Child Abuse Prevention Month and their virtual series. We are in the company of some amazing speakers, and we hope you have registered for all of their series. It takes an entire community, a tribe, to tackle this public health concern and epidemic of abuse with our young people. And abuse operates on so many platforms. The platform that we will talk about is the internet. Understanding the risks and provide parents guidance on how to engage with their children. And I look at all of you in this community on this series as parents, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, as well as providers, right? So you're going to get some practical stuff from us. We'll discuss the concerns. The big thing that we want you to take home from all this is that we want you to create a safe space for them. This presentation is brand new, so you guys are the first to see it. It's informed by our youth. We train very closely with the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, which we have here in the state of North Dakota, with the National Centers of Missing and Exploited Children, as well as with NetSmarts. Jill and I, by all means, are not experts, because we realize that, parents and providers always ask us for how-to information, such as how to use social media privacy settings. They want a list of the top apps, and unfortunately, the websites and apps change all the time, and children use too many to include in this short presentation. But we want to give you some prevention strategies, some how-to guides to how you can have these difficult and uncomfortable discussions when their safety is compromised. Because we need to practice prevention as a state. The state of North Dakota is doing a really good job with our social services, with our partners, victim service providers, with organizations like PCAND, in how to teach people how to have that conversation, how to be safer once a child becomes interested in online technology. And Jill and I do this statewide, and we also present outside of the state. And we're seeing, right, Jill, that kindergartners,
Yep.
you know, that's our target audience is all these young children.
They are teaching us every day just how
Every
much
single
they're
day.
doing online. So it's kind of crazy because everyone thinks, oh, we need to talk to the high school and everyone, but that's not the age group we need to be talking with, because those younger kids are the ones that are very open and honest about what's happening.
You want to talk about our boss?
So this is Mr. Wrigley. I'm sure most of you know who he is. He's the North Dakota Attorney General who took it over after Mr. Stengen passed away. He oversees the North Dakota Bureau of Criminal Investigation. He's been a huge supporter of Analena and I and our roles in what we do for the North Dakota Bureau of Criminal Investigation. He has been instrumental in helping us bring our program full time, because we used to do this job part time. But the agents saw a huge need for this, for our roles. And so he's been very helpful with that.
Yep, he's also been on the receiving end of victim services when a family member passed away in the line of duty. So he's been a parent, an uncle, a father, a brother-in-law when all this happened. So he also has a special passion for the Internet Crimes Against Children task force that we have here in North Dakota, and supports the outreach and prevention efforts that we do. So we're going to do a test. I want you to type in the chat. This is Jill's favorite slide. This is a question for all of you. How much time do we spend educating children online on online safety from 0 to 21? You type in how much time in the chat, and I'll let Jill and
So basically their lifetime, right? But we can even narrow that scope down from 2 to say 18, right? Let's go 2 to 18. How much time in their lifetime do we spend educating?
so I can't see, so I'm gonna let you.
I'm just waiting for some answers. I have like 18. Are you talking minutes? Is that what people are saying, is minutes? A few hours? We have 15 minutes, maybe 90 minutes, 5 hours. Okay. So we're kind of getting in a lot of not enough, right? 1 to 2 hours maybe. So we're getting some chat feedback, but that's kind of what we're seeing. So
Let me know when you wanted to do the reveal.
you can do the reveal. Let's do the reveal so we don't take too much time on that. 43 minutes. That's in like a lot of people were doubling that, right? If people were like 90 minutes, you know, couple 2-3 hours, but it just shows you how little time we were spending with our children talking about this. So we're giving kids Chromebooks, we're giving them tablets at a young age, right? But we're not having that conversation with them on a regular basis.
Yeah, and this is evidence-based. So when we're trying to show this to parents or to communities, they're like, wow, we really don't. But we spend every day, every hour, don't talk to strangers, make sure you wear a seatbelt, wear a helmet, all those kinds of things. So it's kind of crazy to see it in black and white and yellow. We have a cybercrime unit here in the state of North Dakota through the BCI and on our task force. These are our 3 dogs. They're all sworn. Our newest special agent is Ursa. She's on the far right. These are electronic detection dogs. When people think about canine dogs, they think about drugs. These dogs are pretty amazing. They were donated to us by Operation Underground Railroad. They have a special talent in that they can detect, it's the chemical, right, Jill?
Yep, it's a chemical that like the glue that's in like SD cards, anything that can hold a digital image. So SD cards, phones, things like that. They can't find your remote control or anything like that because obviously it doesn't store that digital image, but that's what they sniff out. They're not looking for drugs or people, things like that. So people are very like kind of turned off at first, but when they're not sniffing out electronic devices or things like that, they are therapy dogs, and they are the kindest, most friendly dogs, and they are comfort dogs for us, sometimes used in the courtrooms, in classrooms, in forensic interviews, all of those things. So we're very fortunate that North Dakota now has 3 of them, because there's only about probably under 30 across the United States. So we feel very fortunate that we have 3 of them. We have one in the west, which is Jab, the Minot dog. The east, which is in Fargo, is Jib, and then Ursa's in the central. So we have them all, which is Bismarck. So we have them all in good locations so that they are able to get to the areas that we need to for search warrants or for presentations, things like that. Special Agent Jib is going to be out of commission for a little bit here. He has ACL surgery coming up next week, so that's kind of a bummer for us.
They are part of the team. These dogs are highly trained. There's constant training going on. When we go on a search warrant and there is a potential child sexual abuse material that we need to seek out, it's not always in plain sight. When we clear a scene, we'll bring in one of the dogs, and they're treat motivated, they're food motivated. They get fed twice a day, but they have to work for their food. We don't do any animal cruelty. I'm just going to state that disclaimer. They will try and find things. They will find it in places that you can't imagine. We can't disclose where's all the time, but in places that is not seen by the naked eye. And they get so excited when they find something, because every time they find an SD card or something of electronic nature, they're saving multiple children, because that's their goal. So they are truly an asset for our internet crimes and for our investigations. So today what we're going to do is this presentation hopes to provide all of you with some helpful information, some prevention tools to protect children, to share best practices of what we're seeing, and how to respond to your child or a child that you work with when something happens that's not safe. Remember, we're all human and we all are doing our best. So don't feel bad if you don't react, if you do not react the way that children want you to react. That's a big thing. Children always tell us, I don't want to tell my parents because I'm super scared, because all of us want to support and protect our children. So the goals that we're going to talk about are the objectives. Basically, is we want to have open and support continuing conversations about healthy relationships, and give you some accurate information, and clear some mistakes or some things that you have in your head that you think about internet. We also want you to know that it's important to problem solve with children. And we're not here to tell you that the internet is bad, right? I love the internet. The internet is phenomenal.
Hey, Analena, sorry,
yeah.
I'm super sorry to interrupt. Can you let some people in the waiting room? Sorry. Yeah, and while you do that, I'm just gonna elaborate on that, is that, when we go and do these presentations at school too, we always want to let parents and kids know that, hey, we're not here to say that you're doing anything wrong online. We're just trying to have the conversation about just being safe online and making sure that they're safe. So that's where we bring this conversation, not to talk about everything that is bad or what they could be doing wrong, because 90% of the kids are doing everything right online. 90% of the people are doing exactly what they're supposed to be. It's just those 10% that are doing some things that are not appropriate. And the people are what makes the internet bad, right? It's the cringy thing that they're doing. That's what the kids will tell Analena and myself, that there's some cringy people online, right? Yep. So that's what's happening.
Yep. And so this presentation was created with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, NCMEC. They basically find missing children, reduce child sexual exploitation, and prevent future re-victimization. And then we work with a program called NetSmarts. When we go into schools in our communities, they always ask us, is there a curriculum out there? Is there a safety program out there? And there actually is that, and we endorse this as a task force that we actually go in and talk to children from ages 5 to 17 on how to make better choices online and to become responsible digital citizens. While we're also training our parents, we guide parents in protecting their children online. So NetSmarts is a phenomenal resource. It's a free resource for all of you, hint, hint, especially if you want to incorporate it in the classrooms, learning about, there's a ton of free resources to include gaming. All of us are gaming gurus here. We're all nerds like that. And also, how do we teach how to have that open relationship? Because students want to, when we talk to kids, they want to grow and understand what's going on, but they also want to know who they can talk to. So we highly endorse NetSmarts as a good tool for all of you.
And we really like to endorse because it's free, and they're happy to send you any information to you, to your office, to your school, whatever it may be. They are super, super good to work with.
Yeah. So so this presentation is very similar to what we talked to our youth about. So we're going to ask you as adults, because we have adults in the group, what do you think your kids are currently interested online? So just type in the chat, what are some of the things that they're doing online, do you think? Are they gaming? You just let me know if they start answering. Are they gaming? Are they connecting?
A lot of gaming,
Okay.
sports, messaging, YouTube, TikTok, the typical apps, which is
Right.
just, the social media platforms, right? Yep.
Right. Some of them use do they use Google for their homework? When we talk to youth, they'll be like, I don't know where they didn't suffer like I did, having to plan and check out books and magazines. So they use Google for their homework, download music. A big thing that we see is they watch the videos on YouTube. And for me, I use Apple Store or Google Play for music. So there is some really amazing, awesome stuff that they can do on the internet. But people always like, okay, the internet is great. So how do we protect our children online? And that's teaching them how to be a bit better digital citizens. So technology changes all the time. Like Jill and I can't keep up, and neither can our forensic team and our cyber team. Kids are constantly finding newest sites and websites, apps and gadgets. But it's up to us as adults, as providers and good role models, to teach them the basic rules of internet safety so that they can all use us all responsibly. Kids go online from school computers, friends' computers, laptops and tablets, cell phones, MP3 players, e-readers like Kindle.
Yep. There's,
And
when you think about it, there's not much that you don't do online anymore, right? It used to be such an anomaly when we were growing up. And so that is one thing that we have we really try to talk to the parents, when we are doing these community events, is that just because, we didn't grow up in that technology age doesn't mean that we have to, that we're going to stay stagnant, right? We have to grow with them and we have to learn. And so that's the one of the other big factors and key points in these presentations is that it's okay not to know everything about the internet, and it's okay to tell your kids, hey, I don't know that answer, but let me try and find out the answer for you and get back to you, because that's a real conversation. We don't have to know everything. And we find that a lot of parents are like, well, I don't really know what my son or daughter are doing online. So I don't want to have that conversation because I don't want to not have the answer for them. But it's okay because we're human, right? We have to evolve with the technology. And Analena and I always do, when we do this presentation, we're always asking, hey, what are the newest apps out there, right? Like right now, we've heard a lot of, TikTok, you know, X or not Xbox, Minecraft, Fortnite, Snapchat, Be Real, all those apps, right? Instagram. But there hasn't been like that latest and greatest app that's kind of come in and taken over. So we kind of feel lucky that we still know enough about these apps, and we're not super far behind. But every time we do these presentations, we do learn from kids what new apps might be out there. But so far, Facebook and Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube are still the big ones.
As well as our Nintendo, Xbox, just to name a few.
Mm-hmm.
So throughout this presentation, we're going to talk a lot about ways that you can protect your children online, no matter how they access the internet, to include those gaming consoles, because that's a big thing that we're seeing. So, some of the key points: technology can't catch everything, so communicate. You need to start that conversation about safety as early as possible, even before children go online, about boundaries, healthy relationships, consent, rejection. And I know many of you do. And asking those questions, like, hey, what's your favorite app? Who do you talk to when you play games? How do you know them? Have you met them? Having those discussions with them to be.
How do you know that that's who that it really is that you're talking to?
Exactly. And so it's all about prevention. You have to have these open and continuous communication with your children. And this is what kids are telling us to tell adults, because we need to have productive conversations with them, because they say we need to know that they can trust you being the adults, as a source of information for them. But we have to understand that for kids, the online and offline world of information for them is out there. So that's what they're using, online and offline, for their social and emotional development. This is the cyber age. It is not going away. And also the big thing that we hear is, I wish they were just pretty honest about that they don't know about. They don't know about it, because they're going to get upset if we tell them. I know our main goal as parents and as adults is to protect our youth, right? But we need to have those skills to have those difficult conversations. They got to be meaningful. And so us as adults need to practice and talk to people who have experience in technology. And it's our youth, and it's okay. They say it's okay. If you don't understand, we'll show you.
Right. Have the conversation about, hey, what are you doing? What are you using the app
Let's
for?
play a game together.
Yeah, show me how it works. What do you like about this app? What's so neat about it that you like to spend all your time on this? But the other thing too is that we also like to tell our parents is that, when we give these, tablets or smartphones, computers to our children, we also tend to say, like, if something goes wrong, we're the first to grab it and take it away, instead of having the discussion about, what was happening or why something might be inappropriate, right? We're just big on, like, well, now they're not going to have it at all because we don't trust them. And so they're also very afraid that if they do tell them something was wrong, then they're going to blame me. Well, what were you doing? Because we get accusatory, like, well, what were you doing? Or why did you start talking? And instead of just asking, kind of the questions, and then use that as a tool of punishment, and instead of using that as an educational piece,
Right.
and
Exactly.
having that conversation.
And be honest and tell them that even though you might get upset, your main goal is to protect them and help them. That goes a long way. And so we're going to show a really quick TikTok from the No Filter campaign, which gives a point of view of what kids want to hear about these topics from parents. So in this TikTok conversation that I'm going to show you, it's between a mom and her son, and we can see that the teen has expressed that children want caregivers to talk to them about the safety and risk. So I'm going to play that video here in 1 second.
From a child's perspective, growing up with somebody like yourself, for parents, it's a huge thing to have the ability to just listen and have an open dialogue, because at the end of the day, children don't have anybody to ask about how life works. They're just thrown into this crazy world, and they have no idea how to interact with it and interpret it. And they need somebody like a parent, whether it's their parent or somebody else's, to help them learn that and understand that. And if you're not providing that to your kid, they're gonna have some problems online, right? It's just the name of the game.
I love this video just because what he's trying to say here is that conversations have to be continuous. I mean, kids are freaking curious, and
Yep.
and the curiosity when you're talking to them is how you strengthen those relationships with your child. So, asking them, who are you talking to online? Hey, have you met them? Have you seen their faces? We've got to understand, again, like he said, they're going to make friends online, whether you like it or not. It's just the way it's coming. So, having an open mind, having those conversations, because again, the kids need to know that they can trust you. They really can.
And I think he's kind of saying too that if you don't have the conversation with your child or your children, someone else is going to. So who would you rather have that information come from? Would you rather have it come from you, or would you rather have it come from a stranger that they meet online? Because you want to make sure that the education piece that your child is getting is the accurate one, right? Not something that someone has decided to try and use against them or groom them for the vulnerabilities.
Yeah. And children want to hear about these issues from you, from parents, from educators, from, aunts, uncles, because we, the adults, are the ones that shy away from these conversations. And what we say is like, you figure it out, or, you know, we kind of laugh about it. And so the video says, if you're not providing that information, they're going to find it somewhere else. So Jill and I aren't into scaring our audience or anything like that. I want to give you some good news, is that most children in this, I can tell you here in the state of North Dakota, are not getting into trouble online, but there are some risks that we need to consider. They know what to do. If somebody gets cringy or weird, they'll block them, they'll do a whole bunch of stuff. But there are some risks to consider as adults. We need to discuss inappropriate content, online privacy, sexting, sextortion. You may think that you don't have to worry about cyberbullying, but that's becoming a huge deal. Because you have a younger child or maybe a teenager that you know, and how they respond to inappropriate messages. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative. So these topics, all these topics right here are the top 6 topics that kids want to that you need to talk to kids about in a positive way. So we'll give you some guidelines on how to do that.
And these 6 topics are the things that we are seeing here in North Dakota as Analena and I go and do these presentations. These things are happening here. It's not a big city. It's not a big state problem. It's a here in North Dakota in our backyard problem.
Sure, for sure. So it's important to talk about risk at any age, right? So when you're looking about the risks that, you know, as you see here, you know, you need to start conversations when they are young. You know, you should start talking about what online manners look like. That's what netiquette is with your youngest children, giving them that foundation so that later on, when they come in contact with things like cyberbullying, you know, you can talk to them about, you know, what not to post, what pictures you shouldn't post. And then that can evolve into discussions about sexting when they become teenagers. Again, we just presented not too long ago in a school up here, and kindergartners were already, you know, they've all seen nudes. They've all been, have had posting pictures. They want to talk about, this, and they want to have someone that's safe to talk about. And we need to establish that foundation so that as they grow older and the stuff like sexting and cyberbullying happens, you know, they already have a strong foundation. And using examples of, like, with car safety, you need a car seat, and then you have to wear a seatbelt so that you can drive. You know, just growing on, you know, talking to risks at every age is super important.
Just so that it's ingrained into them at a very young age. If we start young, you know, like Analena said, talk about the seatbelt, right? Kids learn about car seats right away. Like, they don't ride in a car without being buckled in, right? If they're younger and they're starting to get out of their car seat, we pull over, we tell them they can't, you know, you can't do that. So we have to start young, so it's ingrained in it. And so it's just basically by the time that they're 16, they know they get in a car, they have a driver's ed, first thing they do, buckle up, right? So it's just one of those automatics, right? You don't even think about it. Just the same with online safety, because that's how prevalent internet is, and what we're doing. We're not, the internet isn't going to go away.
Yeah, the big take home is that skills, you need to build skills in children so that they can practice safe behaviors online, and then those skills will build over time. And these conversations have to be regular and active, literally at all ages. So, you know, and then that's the big take home. We have a video that, you know, it's into the cloud, which is, again, NetSmarts. This is, and it's cartoons, so all of you will be happy to watch a little bit of a cartoon, but this video is very well suited for young children as an example of how to talk to young children about the strategies for staying safe. Because I'm sure many of you, like, I am not going to talk to my 5-year-old about, you know, internet. They're not going to get, after this presentation, you'll probably say they're not going to get a cell phone until they're like 24. But they have access to online. So it's, how do you talk to them without making online scary? Because we don't want to make online scary, and introduce concepts that will advance to their developmental level. So NetSmarts has a really, really cool into the cloud that we show in
What are you doing here?
Oh, hi, Webster.
Hey.
Go ahead, Zion.
You could tell them. They're NetSmart's kids. They might know ways to help.
Okay, so remember how I showed you some of my pins? Well, like I said, that was only some of them. I've got tons. I have a whole video channel dedicated to them. I do unboxings, ratings, cleanings, stuff like that. But I also stream myself playing video games. I've got a good number of followers, because sometimes they're playing the same game as me, and we work together on a level. Or I do a live stream and people message to ask for tips or tricks. Just normal stuff like that. But then, the other day, I got this direct message from someone in the game chat. I didn't recognize the username, but they said they had a picture of me. A really embarrassing picture of me doing something I probably shouldn't have done on live stream. But I was just goofing off. I only moved the camera because my followers dared me to. They said it'd be funny. So I did it. And this person had a screenshot picture of it. They said they'd send it to all of my followers if I didn't send them 10,000 goldies. You've got to be really good to get goldies, so sometimes people buy them or sell them. But that amount is impossible. It took me a year just to get the 600 I have now.
Wow, I'm really sorry that happened to you. Did you report them?
No, I couldn't. See, when I messaged back and asked them to delete the picture, they said no. Not until I paid the goldies. Then, when I said I'd report them, they said that I'd be the one in trouble and that they'd send the picture anyway.
Have you told anyone else about this?
Well, now I've told you, plus Harold. I can't tell my dad. He'll get mad at me. So when I needed a trusted adult, I thought of Harold. He's our neighbor, and he's always been really nice to me. I just want to get that picture down and go back to normal.
I bet. But you know, once something's online, it's hard to control where it goes.
That's why I'm so stressed out. What am I gonna do?
Well, you've taken the first step by asking for help. I still think you should report this person. The way they threaten you is not okay.
He's right. You can report what happened directly to the site's safety team. Almost all sites have them. They may have a way to get the picture off their server.
I looked into that. The safety team and server for my channel is all the way out on Ledis, which is, also part of why I came to you, Harold. Would you take me to Ledis to help me get the picture down?
I'll help you, but you have to tell your dad first. I know it will be hard, but I'll come with you.
All right, I guess. But this is not gonna be fun.
Hey, we'll tag along too. We've got your back.
I love this video, Jill. I don't know. This is literally our cases in a video form.
Very much so.
Very much so. I mean, I know that it was pretty simplistic, but here's the thing, you know, as we mentioned in the previous slides, we need to have a continuous open conversation with our children and start these conversations when they are young. And, you know, that every bad thing that happened in that video to that poor child, you know, just think of it as a human. Each one of those were teachable moments that we can have. And so we've got to use those as teachable moments. And he didn't know who to talk to, who that trusted adult was. You know, he didn't feel comfortable going to his dad because he was going to be mad. And then he knew who could go to Harold and talk to Harold. These are things that we're teaching our children when we go out and talk to them, right, Jill?
Yeah, and we always say too that, like, hey, you know, maybe you don't have, you don't want to talk to your parents, but you like your friend's parents, and they are that trusted adult, like, or trusted person. And we're not always saying necessarily that adult, because what if they're in high school and they have a friend and they trust their friend to help them through this? So we always just talk about a trusted person. And so that's a really big key to this as well, is just so that they have someone. Just take a minute, and when we do these presentations, take a minute to think, do you have someone that you feel that you could trust to go and talk to about this? The other great thing with this video too is that this program, NetSmarts, they have activity books, coloring books, little games that you can get for free and sent to you. So we have links at the end of this that we can share with you with NetSmart, so that you can log on, get these tools for you, and like I said, activity books, these videos, things like that, that you can look at and take them to show your children, or just to share with other people that weren't available today to be at this training.
Yeah. The big thing is teaching them the skill, how to like notice that this is bad. If it was bad, who do we talk to? Allowing them to come up with their own solutions, asking the how and the why, and then, and then seeking the support and the help. That's how they problem solve. The same way we do it with, incidents that happen, in their lives. We teach them how to problem solve. We need to teach them how to problem solve when they have issues online. So inappropriate content, let's talk about some of the inappropriate content that a child may encounter online. The internet is freaking awesome. It opens up an entire world of information. There's also images, some of which you don't want your children to see. On the internet, your child may come across content that is child sexual abuse material, which is pornography. They'll see excessive violence, especially in some of the gaming. They may come across hate speeches and risky and illegal behaviors. So they can, by the click of a keyboard or going to Google, they can find all that information. And none of that stuff, much of that stuff is not censored. So, being a trusted adult is super important. When you're talking to them about inappropriate content, this is stuff that you might see. And when you see this, I want you to come and talk to me. And if you don't feel comfortable talking to me, who is somebody that you can talk to about this? So in the schools, we talk about what a trusted adult looks like. Someone who listens without judgment or shame, someone who will help and take action like Harold did. Listening, remaining calm, because I know if many of us will freak out. A trusted adult helps a child identify other adults in their lives that fit these characteristics. So we always ask kids, raise your hand if you like your school resource officer, and they're like, yeah, can you talk to your principal? Maybe they're uncomfortable talking to their parent about it because of the shame. But let your kids know that they, if they can talk to you, if something comes up and I'm not around, and you're embarrassed or feel guilty or whatever, who else can you talk to at school? I might not always be there. Even when they get into trouble, talk about something. Your priority should always be that you want to help them, and being there for them so they can help figure out their problems. You don't want them to figure out their problems on their own, because they may not get that information, the right information that they need to. Anything else, Jill?
No, I mean, I think the only thing too is like when they see your reaction, and if you're calm and you're listening and not being judgmental on these things, it just opens you up for more dialogue with your children for other topics, not just internet safety, but just other conversations to be had, because these are tough conversations. They want to talk to someone, but they don't know. But if they see that, hey, my mom or dad was pretty cool about this when I talked to them about, the internet side of things, I think they'd be pretty cool about this or that. And maybe they'll share that with their friends, right? And so maybe you'll become that trusted person for someone else. Maybe it won't even be your own child, but just, that's something that's a big takeaway too, that I think is important to share.
Yeah, and Jill and I, along with the cyber team, see a lot of horrible images and horrible things, right? And I know as parents and adults in this conversation, it's important to be kind to yourself. And I put that at the very end. If a child discloses to you that something happened, feeling angry, confused, fearful, and even mad at your child, completely normal. Okay, give yourself some grace. You shouldn't feel bad or guilty for having those feelings, because you don't expect your child or a child that to go through that. You don't want that. So try to stay calm and Because if you're not calm and you get angry, the kids are going to feel like they're going to be shot down and they're not going to confide in you anymore. And that's what we hear over and over again. Being a trusted adult requires a lot of practice, a lot of practice. It's important to learn these qualities, you know, being calm, being respectful, listening, being empathetic, because you want them to come to you. You honestly do. So what can you do? You know, seeing inappropriate content online can have some horrible effects, some very negative effects on children. We've seen it. We make referrals over to therapy right away. Some kids, especially the younger ones, feel very guilty or ashamed, right, Jill? I mean, they're exposed to some violent sexual content and sometimes they become desensitized to it, which we're seeing, and it affects their self-image and their overall development. The internet's a great tool, so don't when you're talking to them, don't make it scary. If your child does open up to you about inappropriate content they've been seeing, or somebody showed it to them, or they've created it themselves, listen attentively and stay calm. Count to 10, pinch your thumb, whatever. Thank them for trusting you. Tell them that you're proud of them for telling you. Try to ask some open-ended questions to help identify how they're feeling. That the trusted adult has to correct any guilt that child feels by reaffirming them. Always reaffirm to them, and it's not your fault. That's the first thing we do when we do interviews, is like, this is, you're not in trouble. You're not in trouble. Okay. Together we can come up with solutions, and then creating some sort of safety plan or hustle, hustle situation, to address if this happens again, how can we prevent this from happening again? Because that's what they want to do. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want this to happen again. And then how do we report it? You contact law enforcement, you make a cyber tip, and we'll show you how to do that. Again, the goal is to have regular and active conversations, being proactive with them, not reactive.
And sorry, I should have asked this a little bit sooner, earlier in the presentation, but I usually do ask, how many of you on here, and you can just put it in your chat, how many of you check your children's phones, or on a regular basis? And I'm not saying like, like every hour or anything, but I mean, check them on a regular basis, like once a week, once a month. Do you know your children's passwords? Those kind of things.
Mhm.
Do you have those conversations? Because what does that look like? And I have a son that's 18 years old, and I would always check his phone. It would be sporadically. I would just check it here and there. Just randomly. Sometimes I check it a couple days in a row, just because if he thought like, hey, I do it on this day, then, he'd maybe know, but he'd be like, don't you trust me? Right? That's always the thing. Don't you trust me? And I said, buddy, it's not that I don't trust you. It's that I don't trust the other people and what other people might want you to do. And so that's how we have that conversation, because it's always like, oh, you don't trust me. You don't trust me. And, and that's how you have to have those conversations. Just have them very candidly. And, and then like when you're on these apps, it gives you that opportunity to have that educational piece.
Absolutely. And the big thing that we hear from our youth is like, they want to fix every problem, and I don't think they know how to fix it. If you don't know how to fix a problem, say, hey, I don't know, but we'll figure this out. Local law enforcement throughout the state of North Dakota, I'm very happy to say, and very proud of our law enforcement partners, our school resource officers especially too, and our sheriffs and all that. They are trained in this. They know what to do. They will guide you as well if you want to report stuff, and we'll give you some of some pearls of wisdom of what they do, and how they can help you with reporting it. They are available 24/7. They too are on that mission, on the task force with us. They want to protect a child. Again, helping them report is their thing. So trust your law enforcement for that as well. When together is the other thing. So when a lot of our kindergartners, second graders, and third graders, when we talk to them about what do you do when you see inappropriate content, they're like, oh, we block them. We block them. We go to another server. I turn off the screen. I use the back button. I mean, it's amazing to me how our young children really honestly know what to do. They'll close the app. We always tell them, like, if you feel scared or you feel like you're going to get in trouble or something bad happened or you did something, tell a trusted adult. We need to report it. You know, they all know how to report it to the website or on the app, especially on gaming. You know, and always tell, and when they tell you, tell them, hey, listen, you should do this on your own. I'm going to help you. And the cybertipline.org, we've had a lot of parents recently and a lot of young people self-report. This is a great online reporting system that we get our cyber tips from. Public and electronic service providers make reports of suspected online enticement of children. This is where we get all our cyber tips on child molestation, child sexual abuse material, trafficking, unsolicited obscene materials, you name it. We like the fact that we have the cyber tip line. This is a good site to write down. You can anonymously make a report, and I'm happy to say that kids report them, self-report these days too, right, Jill?
Yep, and we're very fortunate too. It's not like, you know, like, because people think like, oh, with cyber tips, you know, they'll just go hit the house or go get that person. There's a lot more that goes into a cyber tip. So there's a big investigation that goes on for these things. So we're doing things properly, because if we get a cyber tip, we want to make sure that we have a good case to bring forward, to move forward, like through the judicial system, right? So we take our time doing things. We do prioritize them, obviously, but we make sure that we get it right, so that if it's a good case, that case goes to the appropriate place, like whether that be state court, federal court, however that may look. So just so you know that there is a little bit of process, but we're definitely working on them all the time. I think just as of yesterday, our cyber tip numbers for the state of North Dakota was 370 cyber tips. I think we were at 350 or 64 from at this time last year, something to that number. But it just goes to show that they're going up, and people are learning what to do and how to report it.
And then when you're sitting down talking to youth, or when we're sitting down talking to youth, you know, all social media sites and apps are a little different when it comes to privacy settings. So when a child wants to download or has an app or social media sites, look at the privacy settings. See how do you report something and how do you block something, and they're very similar. The privacy step settings, you know, learn how to do that. Don't just give your child a phone. Don't let them just figure it out on their own, because they'll ask their friends. So privacy settings, should they only share it with friends? Probably just with friends and family, not with the public. You know, staying off of anything like personalized ads. Make sure that their marketing is turned off. Make sure to review those settings regularly, because kids are sneaky, especially when, and also on the phones, there's always constant software updates. So privacy settings may change on the phone. So if you get an update on your phone, check your child's phone as well.
And your tablet.
And your tablets. Yeah, exactly.
Because you kind of forget your tablet, right?
Yep.
Like we think it just syncs, and it doesn't, because your tablet actually needs to do a separate upgrade for your newest settings. And then you need to redo your settings on some of them.
All of our kids know how to report. If they know exactly, if something's upsetting and dangerous, I love hearing the kids like, oh yeah, we just report it. You go to the right, you hit this and and we answer 2 questions and boom, we done. So I love that these young kids know that. And it's very easy. Every app has a reporting feature, and you should be familiar with it as well, along with the blocking feature. So just like reporting inappropriate content, blocking is pretty simple. Once you've clicked on the user's profile, you check, you go to the follow, you block, unfollow, mute, whatever. So when we're launching the parent initiative here in the fall, teaching parents how to do these kinds of things. So stay tuned, but it's super easy. But kids, they can freaking figure it out. They know exactly what to do. It's just when it starts getting like this, a little bit more riskier, a little bit more offensive, if there's threats of violence, this is where they get into a prickly situation. What we're seeing online is when postings like these happen, they're very fearful because their reputation might be damaged. They're afraid of being suspended, or they do get suspended from school. They get charged with a crime. Maybe their chances of getting a scholarship is lost. So
Kicked off or suspended off their sporting
Yeah.
event, cheerleading, DECA, FFA, all of those things.
yeah, you should tell your children that they shouldn't post certain things, right? Posting certain, things of violence and all that. Give them accurate information. Make sure that the postings that are something that they would post to a friend, to a family member, talk to them about using kind and respectful language, posting pictures or videos that lift people up. We always ask, like, what can you post? And they're like, puppy pictures or shoe pictures or food pictures. Teaching them good conduct is a strong foundation for preventing inappropriate content posting. When you talk to them about online privacy, that's super important. So talk to them about what's okay to share, what's okay and what's not okay. And these are the okay things to things. Okay, like pictures of families and friends, casual conversation in a game. Geolocation only with family and close friends for safety reasons is okay. Family information, this is, what can you share just with your immediate family? But geolocation, passwords, videos, photos, explicit content, again, having those conversations. This is what you should post. This is what you shouldn't post. Again, having those conversations is super important because they need to understand how to navigate online the difficulties of what people post, because some people post whatever and they're like, why can't I do that? I see other people posting. So we should make sure not to teach them how to do that. Anything else, Jill?
No.
Okay. Personal information, again, telling them what they shouldn't put publicly on there, like passwords. And you know what? The kids know that. They honestly do. They do. And again, it's stressing what they can and cannot post.
Just on that personal information, and you can leave this slide up,
Yep.
but I was just gonna say, on our first day of school, like we all like to take those pictures and it says like what classroom we're going to, what grade we're going. I always like to tell parents, I think it's great and we like to share that, but just remember when you share that picture, you're shared with everybody around that's on the internet, where your child goes to school, who's teacher that they are going to, so that you're allowing people to have a lot of access. And I get that we're just sharing with grandma and grandpa and things like that, but I always just like to remind people that we don't realize just how much sharing we are doing when we do those kind of posts.
Because when you share, this is what can happen. And we always poll our kids, like if you put personal information out, what could happen? Identity theft, stalking, hacking, you name it, sextortion. This is a new online exploitation crime that we'll talk about here in a second. Cyberbullying, and the big thing too that I have to remind parents is not to give your child your phone and allow them to interact online when they're using your adult account. We hear that quite a bit. So we need to make sure that safeguards are on. When you give them your phone, make sure that those safeguards are on your phone as well. So what can you do? Here's things you can do to help your kids from revealing too much personal information, because, boundaries with them are a little bit different than ours, what they can share under what circumstances, how to report. They're real good about it. Talk about their friends lists, hey, NetSmarts and our task force, we always recommend that children can only add friends that they know offline, that they've met face to face. That is a big, right, Jill? That you have,
Yeah.
and this point is super hard for us as adults to understand. Why do they add people they do not know? But for them, again, meaningful relationships worldwide is through social media and online gaming. This is how they make friends. This is how they socialize. So we need to teach them, how do you know this person is who is on the other side, as Jill's mentioned, and then creating a safety plan for when things get a little bit hairy. Who do they talk to? How should they behave? Who should they talk? Who should they report this to? What are some of the safe words to communicate if they're in public, if something's bad? Who can, monitoring what they do is super important. Anything else, Jill? It's,
No,
yeah.
I think we've covered it.
Yeah. Online enticement. You want to talk about a little bit about online enticement?
So the online enticement, and you can read about that, is that we're starting to see sextortion here in North Dakota. It is something that's come about nationally over the last couple of years. The FBI has seen a 100% increase in sextortion cases. So this is literally happening here in North Dakota. I can say that we have had cases in Fargo. We've had cases, in central North Dakota, western North Dakota. They're not going to stop, and they're just going to continue. And it's finding that friendship and then thinking that they're using that against you to get something else, to commit a sexual offense, to get like an inappropriate photo, whether that be from a male or a female. And the sextortion looks very different for the males than it does for the females. The females were looking for other pictures of them, to keep that collection going. Whereas males, they only need one to start for that financial gain of gift cards or Apple Pay, things like that. They're financially driven, because with the men and the boys, they're finding that men don't report and neither do the boys. So they're embarrassed and ashamed for what they did and don't want anyone else to find out. So they're more likely to pay. Whereas the girls they want that extra picture to add to that collection to get more content. They need that extra content to continue going forward.
And for some of you who don't know what sextortion is, it's a way a child is being groomed to take sexually explicit images and or ultimately meet face to face with someone for sexual purposes, or to engage in sexual conversation online, and in some instances to sell, trade their images. And so basically these offenders do fake content and trick the child to share their images or their videos. And so they say, you better pay up or else I'm going to share it with your friends and family.
And they pretend to be someone else. For the men and the males, they pretend to be a woman that's a gorgeous woman, or and for the girls, they appear to be maybe that 17, a little bit older male companion, right? Whatever they're kind of like when they're trying to talking to these gals, kind of what they're looking for, right? That's maybe that tween age, right?
So what we're seeing here in our state is that kids are as young as 9 years old are getting inappropriate solicitations. And so it used to be more in our older teens, but now it's our 9-year-olds. And so what you need to teach them is that, and they're being solicited by peers, they're being solicited because sometimes the peers are being used by someone else to do this. There's a lot of strangers online. And so we've got to tell children, because we know children are creating meaningful relationships online and offline. We need to tell them that language is super important. We need to say, like, have you seen this person? Have you talked to them? Hey, if you want to, I'd like for you to meet my mom, talk about healthy relationships, give them specific examples of what a healthy relationship should look for. And instead of saying red flags, because kids don't want to hear about that, try to teach them how should they respond to solicitations when someone is asking them. Giving them the skills to reject and step away from these situations is what our duty is. So offenders, Jill and I have dealt with quite a bit of the offenders. We even had a class on offender minds and how they groom and lure. Most teens aren't bothered by sexual solicitations, but it's what the interactions that can lead to dangerous online relationships. That's where the predators get involved. So the offenders begin to prey on children's vulnerabilities by offering them affection and attention. And then this manipulation grows and it becomes grooming. Grooming, offenders love to entice children by exploiting their unmet needs, their natural curiosity about sex, using their adult status to influence and control a child's behavior, and then offering them gifts. So this is what leads to, unfortunately, to trafficking as well. So, teaching children how to
cope and shut that down right away is super important.
Grooming. Sorry.
Can I interrupt you for just a minute, Analena, before you go on? There is a question in the chat that says, how old is the youngest being sextorted?
That we're seeing here in North Dakota?
I would think so. Otherwise, I'll look if they ask more.
Yeah, the youngest one I've had is 9. How about you, Jill?
That's younger than I've had.
Yeah, 9.
I think for me, the average is more that 14,
10. Yeah. Mhm.
14 and up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, 9, so again, these are all some of just a tip of the icebergs of some of the grooming that predators have, and what they do. And the grooming process varies. Sometimes it can take long, sometimes it can take hours, sometimes it can take minutes. The offender's first contact, if they want it, they don't have enough time because they want to, to be predatorial, it'll be blackmailing them from the start. So reminding them that sextortion, to remind your children sextortion is a crime. If somebody makes you do something, you got to report it to law enforcement. Don't let them deal with it alone. So again, a 9-year-old.
It's not even something a parent and a child can deal with alone. It's something law enforcement needs to be about. Annalyn, before you move to the next one,
Okay,
I'm sorry. I have someone in the chat that said, would you recommend using safety features on phones such as Bark or other apps, or just have a specific parental controls and settings?
Both. You could do both,
I
right?
think, yep. And yeah, I would say both. And I would also say that, things like Bark are good, but they are not foolproof. They're not guaranteed.
Right.
None of these are. It's our own due diligence, and it's that conversation that we have to be having, that tough conversation. That's really the biggest safety feature that there is. Things like Bark are helpful, but I also know that there's a lot of things and a lot of ways around Bark.
Around
So
it. Yeah.
yeah.
It's just having a timeout, a phone check-in, looking through stuff, asking them, what's on your app? Show me your app, show me your friend list. I mean, kids want you to be involved. I mean, they talk about privacy a lot. Kids do, like, oh, it's my privacy. Well, you're the adult who manages their account. So privacy kind of goes out the window when it comes to that. And we talk to kids about that. Grooming, a lot of parents ask us, what does grooming look like? Like, how do I know if my kid's being groomed? Here are some of the indicators. If you see any of these, don't ignore them. Talk to your children, check out what they've been doing online, who they're talking to, and go get help immediately. If you suspect something's wrong, reach out to law enforcement, reach out to us. All inappropriate, abusive, or exploitive behavior needs to be responded to and needs to be reported when grooming is present. I know that my niece, if I take she's 13, if I take the phone away from her, she literally goes into a seizure. I get it. That's her lifeline. But that I wouldn't think of grooming, but if it's something that's habitual and pattern, I see some of these patterns, hiding things, that's when I would get nervous or anything else. Jill?
Any changes that you see in your own children that are out of character for them? I mean, how they are. If you see those things, starting to see those things that are out of character for them, do the check on their phone, have the conversation. What's going on? How, all of those things.
Yeah, for sure. And these are some of the several things that you could do to keep your child safe from predatory offenders. Talk to your child about what healthy sexual behaviors and healthy relationships too. Again, we keep mentioning that, what healthy relationships look like. Keeping in mind that many children are flattered by attention from older people. I know I was. But make it clear that a 22-year-old flirting with them and they're, under the age of 18 is not appropriate. Setting a code of conduct in your household, what to do online, what to do offline. Know your children's online friends. And this is a sticky point for kids. They're like, they don't need to know who I am. Yes, they do need to know. Encourage them not to accept friend requests from anyone they don't already know. And our grade school kids, they don't do that. Some of them have. But then if you look at their friends list and you can say, so how did you meet this person? Or what did you guys talk about? Especially when you're gaming. Keeping in mind that some offenders use the internet to target minors, they already know though. So if someone your child knows contacts them online, they should check with you before responding. That's what we're teaching parents now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because they might friend those other friends before they even really want to friend you, because you're their end game, right? But the other thing too is I'd like to talk about is for the gaming piece is that when they're on their headsets, where are these gaming systems? Are they in the living room? Are they in their bedrooms? Because are you able to hear who they're talking to? And does that conversation sound appropriate? That's all I wanted to
Oh,
mention.
for sure, 100%. You know, teach your child the warning signs. Tell them about grooming. They know what grooming is. I had a 4th grader talk about grooming, which my partner, who's a cop, got a crop face. She was like, "What?" They know what grooming means. Talk to them about ways people might try to manipulate the what if game. What would you do if somebody did? But above all, the big thing I want to make sure, don't do this by yourselves. Like Jill said, call the police if you suspect your child is having inappropriate conversations or relationships online. Our law enforcement statewide is phenomenal, and they are part of the task force too. They're getting this same kind of training that you guys are, but at a higher level. They know how to file a report, and you can also file a report with the cyber tip line on .org. So here is an example of, we kind of souped it up a little bit. Here's an example of a 15-year-old who made a report about inappropriate behavior online. This just kind of gives you an idea. It's important to remind your children that even if they are not bothered by inappropriate comments, they should still report it to help keep the internet safe. I was just in a case yesterday where we told the young human, "Hey, thanks for telling us this, because what you did saved a couple of kids' lives." Remind them that the person sending them inappropriate messages or pictures may try to do the same thing to another child who is younger or more vulnerable. When you empower a young adult, a young child, and like, "Hey, good job, you're saving other people's lives," oof, their personality and their cooperativeness like changes, and then they feel like, they're taking back the power. Anything else there, Jill?
I just was gonna, I have a question. That's all I was gonna, so it says, you might discuss this later, but as an adult sharing photos, how often are pictures of children used on inappropriate websites? And I guess I would need a little bit more elaboration on that. I know that there's sometimes, so like when you share your photos online, this is just an example from some cases, is that sometimes, people can take and copy those pictures and save them on their own files. So there's nothing saying that they can't recreate another Facebook or another account pretending to be your child to talk to other children. So I guess we don't have like a number or anything about that in which we could share that. But I guess I don't know, unless you can elaborate on how often are pictures of children used on inappropriate, like what you're meaning. Unless, do you understand?
Percentage. No, unless there's like a percent. It's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot. It's unfortunate. It's a lot, and that's why we have the task force.
And that's what's hard about these of social media, right? Is that because other people can use and pretend to be you to catfish other people.
Yeah,
and so that's what does happen.
And so this is what you can do. This is what you report to the cyber tip line. This is what you report to law enforcement. These are the things that you should also tell your child or tell children. If anyone sends you photos or videos containing gross stuff, obscene stuff, tell me. We'll report it. We'll take care of, we'll work through anything that is sexual in nature. If they ask you to do something, again, I've had, I think 14 was my youngest one, who self-reported one of the presentations we did in the school, and there's a poster in the bathroom. He took the number and reported something that happened to him. It was awesome. And when I asked him, "How'd you do it?" He goes, "I just called and a live person answered." And then they went to their school resource officer and talked to the school resource officer. So law enforcement, these cyber tips come to law enforcement. So they are investigated. Every single one is investigated.
Yeah, and we have to give kids a lot more credit these days.
Oh,
they're they're very smart and savvy and tech savvy. I mean, obviously we always say like, "Hey, if I don't know how to use my phone, I'll just give it to the kid and he'll teach me or get it set up," right? But I wanted to elaborate. Analena, someone else, she had asked, are pictures taken and sold online for porn? I mean, I guess if it's just your child, an average picture, I don't know that they're not. I don't know that they're used or sold. I can't say, but not usually. Like when we're talking about child sexual abuse material, we're talking about some very serious, egregious pictures of children in very heinous positions in sexual acts or having sexual acts being done to them, I guess is the way I could say it. I don't know, could you?
Yeah, that's true.
is
No,
there-
that's perfect. That's
okay.
perfect. That's perfect. Hopefully that answered the question. In addition to being careful about the kind of information they post, you want to make sure your children are being very careful about the images that they share. Sexting is when minors send or post nude or partially nude images by a cell phone. And this is the statistics, hot off the press. 19.3% of teens have sexted, and 34.8% of teens have said they received a sext. And when I went to the kindergartners, there were a couple that have seen nudes on phones. So again, sexting is, everybody's seeing it. I think how to deal with sexting, is teaching your children empathy, consent, problem solving, and what a healthy relationship looks like. So that they make better choices and help them understand that resharing inappropriate content re-victimizes a person. So again, teaching them the skills to create an environment of protection, instead of blaming them for doing it, is a more healthier way of approaching sexting, because we see that quite a bit. And then, people are like, well, then why the heck are they doing that? Minors text for a variety of reasons. They may be trying to be funny or sharing it with friends, peer pressure, because many of the teenagers we've talked to, they said, well, this is what a relationship is about. Sexting is part of a normal relationship. So they, normal adolescent development includes risky behaviors and boundary testing, and sexting is a perfect way of doing it. So again, talking to them about what looks good, what's right and what's not right. How are we doing on time, Jill? Should I show the next?
I would maybe skip it and
Okay.
let's just go to the
Yeah.
other.
So this video, which, we can share this video, is basically, your photo fate. When you send, she's sending videos, sending pictures, there are consequences, sexting, using cell phones to send sexual images and pictures and videos have serious consequences, not only psychologically, but also, criminally. And so there are consequences to those actions, so humiliation at home, bullying from peers, blackmail, police might get involved. They don't always get charged, but in some programs, they might have to do, with juvenile courts, some education programs or some community service to teach, skills and what a healthy relationship looks like. Anything else you want to say on that?
No, I think you got it pretty good.
Yeah. So parents always like, oh, how do I address sexting? Because that makes me feel uncomfortable.
It's not something that we used to do, right? Like
No.
if you had that conversation, you had to do it on the phone, right? Or
Yeah.
whatever,
You,
like
you
talking.
need to have these conversations before children are teenagers. I am sorry to say that. I'm here to burst everyone's bubble, but you need to teach kids about their bodies, consent, boundaries when they're young, because if you don't teach them, they're going to learn it from someone else. And, with the young people, it's easy. It's clear cut. You can have the conversation with young people. It's less awkward when you're talking to little humans versus teenagers. I'm not going to lie to you on that. And so
Because the teenagers are very like,
yeah,
I don't want to say anything to you. I don't want to share anything. I already know everything, right? But the little ones, man, they love to chat with you about it. They want to know. And if the earlier you talk about all the good things about a relationship and what good relationships look like, because we always say in our presentations is like, we always talk about all the bad things, right? We never talk about all the good things. So like have that the relationship conversation on what do you want your relationship to look like? Some of them will be like, well, I want them to buy me puppies and always have all the can't, you know what I mean? But just having that conversation early on what they want that relationship to look like helps build that so that they know what a healthy relationship is later on.
Yeah. And, I had a case where a young girl had, some pictures on her phone between her her partner, her boyfriend, and it was flagged and we looked at it and all that kind of stuff. And we just kind of, did some preventative work saying, do you know that you're going to be with this guy or this person forever? Because, just be real careful what you put on the internet. Because unfortunately, sometimes we see people that, even if you think that your boyfriend or your girlfriend would never forward their picture, there are other ways a photo could spread. What if the phone is lost? What if someone borrows it? What if someone steals it?
What if someone takes a picture over your shoulder?
Yeah, exactly. So again, putting in those what if scenarios. We talked about sextortion. This online enticement can lead to grooming, to sextortion. So we're seeing more and more people being affected by this. So again, and kids know what sextortion is. So, teaching them, that if blackmailing is happening, block it, talk to somebody, report it. So this is what it looks like. So it's pretty devastating. I mean, it's very quick. It happens very, very fast. And so, what can you do? Don't comply with their demands. Report it. Don't delete the account. Keep the account there. Talk to law enforcement. They can, use that phone, becomes evidence. And again, here in the state, with all the outreach that we're doing in the prevention, we've had kids self-report and they know exactly where to go. They actually Google it and are taken to NCMEC. So there are a lot of tools and resources out there to help them with that. We're seeing a lot of cyberbullying and bullying in technology, bullying through technology, through cell phone, social media, and online games. About 45% of our middle and high schoolers saying that they're being bullied. 14.5% admitted to cyberbullying others. So again, this is a huge problem in our state, in our schools right now. Jill and I talked we can spend 2 hours just talking about cyberbullying and the examples. But even young children who don't use social media or cell phones can experience some form of cyberbullying while playing online games or playing in the virtual world. And it's devastating to see that.
So it's easy to be hide behind the keyboard, right? But we always tell people it doesn't cost anything to be kind. And if you're not willing to go up and say it to their face, why are you so willing to say it online?
Exactly. Cyberbullying differs from regular bullying in different ways. It often spreads faster than in-person bullying because of its instant online communication. It has a wider audience because it can easily be sent pretty much to a limited number of people. It follows the children home. They can't turn it off, and the bullies can harass and bully someone anonymously online. So all these can undermine your child's sense of security. They don't feel safe at school because cyberbullying, it's happening 24/7 online. So this is where, this is where we see the depression, the anxiety. You've seen in the news lately that, highly publicized stuff of teens dying from suicide from cyberbullying. It's very devastating. But I want you to know that, kids who have been cyberbullied, who've committed suicide, they've been bullied also in school and online. And many of the teens that we've seen have had some sort of type of mental illness, such as depression, as a result of it. So again, looking at the warning signs, asking those thoughtful questions, looking at their academic performance, and then asking, hey, what's going on? Being that trusted adult, practicing your trusted adult skills. Because the cyberbullying, if you see any of the signs, you just don't want to ignore them. Cyberbullying victims need to feel that they are taking the problem seriously. A lot of our kids say, you know what, no one's going to do anything about it. So what's the point of it? What's the point of reporting it? So we need to look at our policies in schools and how we're dealing it, because we see cyberbullying. We see victims being bullied online and offline. We see bystanders who sit there and who see it happening.
but don't do anything.
Or do anything. So again, teaching, talking about how to address it in each one of these categories, and many of the schools are doing that. You know, again, teaching your kids skills on how to deal with internet and the cyberbullying, supporting them, how to block them, setting up new accounts, talking to the school, talking to law enforcement, reporting them. Remember to take your child seriously. Don't use phrases like kids will be kids, you know. Bullying can be very painful, and you've got to offer support and understanding to your children. The behaviors of cyberbullying, sometimes parents don't find out about their children being bullied until they hear from another parent or from the school. So it's important that you're proactive and having those conversations. If you notice any of these types of behaviors, get involved and ask them to show you what they're doing online or what they're seeing. And we poll kids a lot and ask them that, and they say, yep, I showed this to my mom and dad. They went and talked to the teacher, or they talked to the school resource officer, or they reported it. So we're teaching kids, just so you know, to come and talk to you about it. So how do you prevent it? You know, online behavior, you know, don't encourage them to be a bully either. Set consequences for cyberbullying. We have some laws in place here in the state of North Dakota. They're not the best with cyberbullying, but I think we need to do better. But the big one is you need to be a good model for what online behavior looks like. Children learn from the adults around them. So be respectful of others online too. Kids said, well, my parents do it. I see them doing it. So be open to working with your child, work with the school. This cyberbullying is we're way off on fixing this problem in the school. Talk to your child about speaking up and standing up. That's super important. Coming forward and reporting it, talking to their friends and not tolerating it. We do a lot of exercises with them on that.
Yep. It doesn't cost anything to be kind, and that's what we need to teach our kids to be kind to one another. The world's hard enough, let alone to be cruel to each other. Yep.
And Jill talked about doing some safety checks on the tech, on the phones, on the Kindles. We can provide you with resources on how to do that. We have a cyber team that can help you as well. But looking at monitoring software, consulting your cell phone providers, there's so many things out there that are already built in. But connecting with your kid, with your child, research a phone before you buy it. Look at the safeguards, learn the platforms that they're on, have them show you, spot the red flags and talk to them, engage with them, have them show you, get involved, don't pull the plug. Taking away the phone from them, taking away internet access, that's not good. They will seek it elsewhere.
They're going to figure out a way around you.
They will.
And don't, and you know, and for those that are always like, oh, my kid's not going to have this app or that app. Well, who's to say that they're not downloading it when they leave the house and then they erase it and they put it back on, right? Yeah. So instead of saying you can't do this, you can't do that, because let's be real, none of us really love that word, right? You can't.
Yeah. If your child doesn't want to show you your phone, show them your phone. There's an issue.
Yeah, but instead do the conversation of, tell me why you want this app, and then go through it together, because that's a really good educational piece for you. Instead of saying that they can't have it, let's learn together why and how it works, and have them show, if they want it that bad, then they're going to need to do some research, right? Like you've heard about the kids that do the PowerPoints for like reasons why they should have a puppy. Well, tell me the reasons why you should have Snapchat or Instagram or any of those things, right? And that brings up a good conversation. It's a way to start that conversation.
For sure. And again, these are the three things that, these are the three things that we can do as an adults to include that engaging behavior, have talking to them and spending time with them, and do those regular check-ins. We can make many recommendations for you for activities, ebooks, videos, netsmartskids.org. They're awesome. They have content, especially for kids, that will help you have those conversations. And you just met 2 new people as your friends. Jill and I are more than happy to help guide you with those activities and resources. National Centers for Missing and Exploited Children are great. They've got a lot of supportive services. We refer to them a lot. We work with them closely. We are trained by them. All the services they offer are free. which is wonderful.
And all the little pamphlets here, all
All
free,
free.
all the
All
training
free.
things, all
Yep,
free.
all
They're the
free.
greatest.
All free. So these are just some of the common internet safety resources that we recommend, that we use, that we teach our school resource officers, that we train alongside with, and also with social services. These are great resources for families. Yep, that's pretty much it. So this is our contact information. Jill and I are available 24/7 if there's anything you need. We're available, and we've got a team if there's any outreach or specialty stuff. And stay tuned for our parent initiative that we will launch hopefully in the fall, teaching parents how to use the internet.
To navigate around
Navigate.
and learn, all the safety, privacy settings so that you know them as well.
Yep.
Because that's the hardest part, right? Is figuring out how to make it safe for your children. So this is an opportunity, and you learn about those 5 big apps: the Discord, the TikTok, the Instagram, the Snapchat, and Facebook. Well, and a lot of kids are like, oh, I don't use Facebook because all our parents have it. So it's like for old people like us, right? But they're still on there because Facebook is becoming, still one of those bigger platforms.
Exactly. So I guess we'll open it up to any questions or anything like that, hopefully. Lindsay, this is what you wanted.
Yeah, this was amazing. Thank you so much for being here. I learned a lot. I always learn from you guys. Are there any questions for our presenters? I'm not hearing any questions. Thank you guys so much. We really
Sorry.
appreciate you. This was amazing. If you are able to join us next week for our next session, it will be with Janelle Regenball, and it's on being my best self so you can be yours, and it'll be next Thursday at noon. And thank you all for being here, and thank you for this wonderful information.
Yep. And if any of you need
I'm really
materials or things like that,
Sorry.
oh, sorry, Veronica, if you need materials or extra training, targeted training in your locations or whatever, we're happy to do that. Lindsay and Veronica know how to find us, and we can tailor that for you. We appreciate it.
I'm so excited to hear about the parent initiative that you
Yeah.
guys are working on. So that'll be really exciting too. We'd love to share information about that. I do see that there was just one question. So is a private account safe from any extortion? And Marissa, I don't know if you want to elaborate, or maybe if you guys understand what she's asking.
And I guess I think I kind of know what she's getting at is if you keep all your settings to private, would you be safe from extortion? No, you're not, because every app that we are on, like even Pinterest, right? They have a chat feature. So anytime you have a chat application feature that allows you to be at risk to be friended by someone. So that's where that vulnerability is in these applications, is because we meet these new people, and if you answer them and they get to talking to you, and you've built that rapport relationship, and they get you onto another platform, you can be a victim of that grooming, things like that. So
Yeah.
it's unfortunate because there
Yeah.
is really no safety other than you just being safe yourself.
Yeah.
If you don't know someone, then you just don't accept them.
In
I mean,
many
heck-
of the, in many of the cases that Jill and I and our agents and worked with our local law enforcement, the blackmailers may have stolen or taken images of another person, and they're communicating through a fake account. And so we've had elderly been extorted, financial crimes there. The blackmailer may have sent images as well. So no one is 100% protected. I'm sorry, Marissa, but if they don't give you proof of life that you can actually see them and stuff like that, and you ask certain questions, you got to be really careful. And that's what when we train older adults, it's harder because they've got their hearts, oh, they wanted a Mercedes, so I sent them the money to help with, starving children in Africa. And it's like, no, we don't do that. So that kind of stuff. So Yeah.
And you know, the other thing we really, and we didn't discuss it as much here, but we talk about like the kids, you know, like with the Fortnite and the skins, right? Like there's always these like little emails that'll say like, if you do this, you know, you can get like however many skins, right, free. But that's
Mhm.
very dangerous too, because that's, you know, a good way for them to have identity theft. And that brings us down a whole nother rabbit hole, right? So, I mean, it's just a lot of safety conversations that we just have to have. And you know, these are the bad things, and what's driving behind that? It's the people behind it. So like that's where we say the internet isn't bad itself, it's just the people behind it that make it a bad place or an unsafe space. So but yeah, sorry, that's my
That's good.
Yes, thank you for answering all of my questions.
Our pleasure, Marissa. And if questions come up, you know, send them to Lindsay or Veronica if you've got something that's more personal and you, or there's no question is ridiculous, because as us older adults, we are not the cyber children. Our kids are. So they know more than we do, but Jill and I are more than happy, especially with artificial intelligence. That's our jam. That's our jam, Jill's and I, artificial intelligence. That's another presentation. We're more than happy to help you with that. We're getting trained on that a lot on a quarterly basis on artificial intelligence. So that's another way, another thing, and live streaming and how kids, you know, get extorted and exploited.